Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Haunt of Love and Lies. Episode 9. Chapter 76. Kaiser Black's point of view. I retracted my gaze from the blood moon. I had to find her soon. With this state she was in, her magic itself will be a beacon that will let anyone find her. This was exactly what terrified Fiona Black, my mother and leader of the Crystal Fortress witches before it was destroyed. Sheila had a different kind of magic. It was something no one had ever experienced. I'd like to think that it was because she was a white wolf, the prophesied one. Her magic was powerful, yet dangerous, and capable of attracting the darkest kind of creatures. My mother, Fiona Black, came from an ancient ancestral clan of female witches that was very powerful. And the magic can only be passed down from the females in the family. Leonardo and I also inherited our mother's witch blood, but we could not access the magic. The entire pack was covered in a red mist, making it difficult to see anything. I shifted into my human form and navigated my way through the red mist. The vibrations from the earth and the violent wind kept on getting worse. I kept searching for Sheila. I didn't have to search for so long as another wave of energy shook the earth, and from a near distance, I could see her. Her eyes were glowing brightly, and a blue glow circled around her. She was up in the air, writhing in so much pain. I could feel the chaos in her soul. It was her strong emotions and unsettledness that kept causing the vibrations on the earth, the violent wind, and the destruction that was happening in the pack. I stopped in my tracks, a thought kicked in. Instantly, I realized what was happening to her. It was her awakening. The magic in her was breaking free, awaking from its slumber. This shouldn't be happening now. Leonardo and I knew this day would come for her, but we were hoping we still had time. Usually, not all witches had their awakenings. But Sheila was different. The witch's blood in her veins had been dormant for a long while, something must have triggered it. With her awakening, she will be able to have access to her witch's magic. I grabbed a handful of my hair in panic. The night kept getting worse with each passing second. My eyes never shifted from Sheila as she was still up in the air, thrashing against the violent wind in pain. With every scream that left her lips, the cracks in the earth kept spreading, also destroying the pillars and walls of the castle. I had to stop her. It was bad enough that every person now knew that the white wolf was still alive. The last thing we needed was for everyone to know Sheila was the prophesied one, and by the looks of things, her awakening will do just that. I walked through mist, and the more I drew closer to her, I felt the harsh impact of the energy surrounding her. Without wasting time, my hazel eyes gleamed brightly, sharing control with my wolf, and I charged into the bubble of magical energy that surrounded her. From behind, I sank my claws into her neck and knocked her unconscious. Instantly, the bubble of magical energy around her died, and so did the trembling of the earth and the violent wind. But the blood moon and mist remained. I secured Sheila protectively in my arms, and with the mist covering the place I escaped the Crescent North Pack, taking my sister along with me. Killian's point of view. Riker was in control. Ever since we found out the pack was under attack and our mate was in danger, we couldn't think straight. We just want to get to our mate. Morgan informed everyone from the pack that attended the meeting, including the witches, and now we were on our way back to the pack. We had already crossed into my territory when an enormous wave of magical energy hit us. It caused Riker to halt momentarily. What was that? I asked him. I don't know, Riker replied, but whatever it was, everyone felt it. Its force was strong enough to bring anyone down to his knees. As soon as the energy died around us, we began racing to the pack. I paused from afar, shocked. The smell of dead wolves was in the air, but I couldn't see anything. The entire pack was covered by a red mist. There was no way to find anyone in the mist. I tried using Sheila's scent to find her, but it was everywhere. I mind-linked Alan, Ria, Jax, and Mason, who I had asked to watch over her, but I couldn't connect with them. It scares me. Stand back. I heard Valerie's voice from somewhere within the mist. Then low chants filled the air, and soon, the mist covering the castle began to vanish. My eyes widened in horror. All I saw were lifeless bodies scattered on the earth. Some were in their wolf form while some were in their human form. Nonetheless, my eyes scanned around for Sheila. I searched for her, but I couldn't find her. I felt my heart shattering already. Ria! I heard someone yell. I snapped my head in their direction. Ria was on the ground, in the pool of blood and lifeless bodies that were scattered around. I rushed to her. Betrayal pulled a cloth around her to cover her body. Ria! I called her. She was covered in blood, especially her neck. Where is Sheila? Ria's eyes widened at me. She scanned her surroundings hurriedly, her eyes dropping on her body. I could hear her heartbeat spike up. What happened to me? She stuttered, almost breathless, and confused. Betrayal had her arms around her. Where is Sheila? I asked, again impatiently. I don't know, she began crying. I was with her, we were fighting off some wolves. Then some wolves attacked me. I thought I died, she stuttered, breaking more into tears. I did not understand what she was saying. What do you mean you thought you died? I asked, feeling Valerie's presence behind me. I didn't have the time for this. Sheila was missing, and only the goddess knows who had her or in what state they had her. I was attacked right here. She pointed at her neck. Everything she was saying wasn't making sense. From behind, I heard Jax call for me. He hastened to us. I found Alan. He is wounded but he is alive. Jax led us to where Alan was. The instant Betrayal saw him, she raced to his side. He was wounded but not severely. His wolf had started to heal his wounds. Alpha, he said when his gaze fell on me. Alan tried standing up but groaned in pain. You don't have to, Alan. Tell me, what happened here? I do not know, Alpha. I swear by the goddess, I have no idea. Alan muttered in a low tone, but everyone could hear him. Valerie moved to him, her hand on his wounds while muttering some chants, and Alan's wounds started to heal faster. Breath, Alan, Valerie whispered to him. Whatever she was doing to him calmed him. Tell us everything that happened. He took a deep breath and began. At his every word, I felt my heart shrink further. Those of the Fire Crest pack were responsible for the attack. They were after Sheila like the last time. How did they know everything about the pack? That was something I couldn't think about right now. I had to find Sheila first and ensure she was all right. I listened to Alan, and as he spoke, his words kept confusing me. Believe me, I am not insane. I felt that his claws in me, and I fell dead on the ground. That's all I could remember, before waking up in the mist, almost healed up. Alan said. That's impossible, Alan. Even with what Alan said, everything felt impossible. There's no way they could have died and then come back to life. That's exactly what happened, Killian. I spun around to find Mason approaching us. There was only a little splatter of blood on his body. What, Mason? Where have you been? As angered as I was also happy he was all right. I am sorry, I was at the pack house with some warriors. I watched as those wolves murdered our own, including Adam and Nate, then we all heard the loud scream and the enormous power that swept the earth, causing so much destruction. By the time the mist vanished, both Adam and Nate were fine. Like nothing happened at all. As Mason's words left his lips, I couldn't stop the throaty chuckle that escaped mine. This was all insane. Valerie, are you listening to this? I turned to Valerie, who has been awfully quiet. She seems lost in her thoughts. Her gaze traveled to me. She was about to speak when Lorenzo and Morgan in his wolf form raced to where we were. Instantly, Morgan shifted to his human form. His eyes held a murderous rage. What is it, Morgan? I asked. We found out who has Sheila. Lorenzo rushed his words, while Morgan's body was vibrating with so much rage. I gated closer. Who? It the blacks? Morgan's words hit me like an arrow to my chest. Those imbeciles took her, brother. What? I voiced breathlessness, feeling something within me snap, and the darkness took over. Valerie's point of view. Morgan's immediate words silenced every doubt I had and confirmed my suspicion. Sheila was taken by the Black Blood Pack. Suddenly, everything began to make sense. My deep purple eyes pulled up to the blood moon in the red sky. It simply couldn't be a coincidence. She was the one. The Alpha's mate was the child we'd been desperately looking for. She was Fiona's daughter. I had always had my suspicion. I felt it the first day I met her at her coronation. And then again, the wave of energy that swept through the entire pack the day Killian went on a rampage and his demon took over, that powerful essence that I felt belonged to her. It was identical to what I felt the night she retrieved the Phoenix Stone, and tonight. She was the one the prophecy had spoken about in the crystal stones. Sheila Colasso was the white wolf. She was taken away from the pack by Killian's father, who was sent by the Dark Circle to bring the Gifted One, so how on earth did she become Alpha Lucius Colasso's daughter? Does that mean he knows who she was? Something must have happened to her, that she lost her memories and her powers became dormant. I placed a hand on my temple, feeling my entire body become so weak. My eyes fell on the lifeless bodies of the Fire Crest warriors. Every witch could feel the immense magical energy around. Her witch side must have awakened within her, because every destruction around carried her mighty magic. The powers she exercised tonight were something not all witches had the ability to do. I believed whatever Alan said. Somehow Sheila altered the rules of life and revived the warriors of the Crescent North Pack, sacrificing the enemy's life for theirs, as nature always demanded a balance. Life for life, saving her people while sacrificing those that meant harm. I shook out my thoughts abruptly at Killian's loud growl. It pierced into the night sky, rippling through the trees, causing the earth beneath us to shake mildly. I turned to him. He was vibrating with so much rage. His aura was dark and murderous. Killian had already summoned the pack's army, and they had been debriefed on what had happened to their Luna. Every one of them was vibrating with similar dark rage. It was as if they were channeling their rage from Killian himself. Oh no! This wasn't good. Because of the curse, Killian was experiencing the effect of the blood moon. It was a blood rage. This shouldn't be happening. This was exactly why the witches and I performed the cleansing ritual with the gifted one's blood to ensure that Killian and the pack will not be affected by the effect of the crescent moon that was only a month away. The cleansing ritual didn't work. It can't be. The only reason it wouldn't have worked was if, oh goddess, Thea wasn't the gifted one. The blood in my body went completely cold as it dawned on me. Thea wasn't the one blessed by the goddess to free Killian and the pack from the curse. That confused me the most. Something about the cleansing ritual was not right, and I knew it. But if Thea wasn't the gifted one, why was she the one in his dreams? This was bad. The crescent moon was almost upon us and we haven't found the gifted one. The real one. If we can't find her before the crescent moon night, Killian and his pack would be stuck with the curse forever. And if something happened to Killian, then the entire pack would suffer the same fate. The darkness inside of him was fueling fear and rage. Every member of Killian's pack was channeling Killian's rage. Everything he was feeling was heightened at the moment, including his rage. I glanced around, only the witches were sane at the moment. We will murder every one of them, and we won't stop until we find my mate, Killian growled again, and more growls filled the air from every one of Killian's warriors. Stop! I moved to him, standing before him. This is insane, Killian, think this through. Your actions now could start a war. A war was the last thing we needed right now, especially one between the Crescent North Pack and the Black Blood Pack. I can't let the mistake that happened 14 years ago repeat itself. The only one that would really get hurt from this war was Sheila. I couldn't let this happen. They started this. They have my mate. Killian yelled, his eyes a bloodshot red, and so were the eyes of everyone in the pack. Killian, listen to me. Think I began, but Morgan's voice sounded angry. There's nothing to think about. This isn't the first time those invaded our territory. They have always been after Sheila, and now they finally took her. Morgan was charging with similar rage as Killian. There was no reasoning with them. At least not in this state. But this won't end well. If Killian and his army charged into Black Blood territory, Leonardo and his army won't take it lightly. This wouldn't end well for either pack. They won't harm her, I began, but Killian's loud growls halted me. Even though I wanted to, I couldn't tell them who Sheila truly was. I have no idea how Killian will take it. And Sheila's secret needs to be kept. I was sure that the Dark Circle must have known that the prophesied one still lives. They will, because even I would do the same to his sister or mate, to settle the score with them, Killian growled. The rage and darkness had blinded him. As long as the blood moon was still up, there's no way to pull them out of the blood rage with the blood moon still up in the air. The only way we might have been able to break the effect of tonight's blood moon on them was with the help of the gifted one. But at the moment, that is impossible. I sighed to myself. Killian had to know that Thea wasn't the gifted one. But not now, he wasn't in his right state of mind. Lorenzo sauntered closer to me. It's the effect of the blood moon. He paused, turning his gaze on me as Killian and his army shifted into their wolves. Sheila might be in danger and the Alpha and his men are not in their right minds. What do we do? Lorenzo asked. My lips parted to speak, but I was silenced by a powerful force of magical energy that swept through the earth. I groaned lightly. Everyone felt it, even the wolves whimpered in submission. The sky darkened more, and the full moon up in the sky burned brightly in red. This was the white wolf's doing. Something was wrong with her. I turned to Lorenzo, whose gaze was up in the sky. What was that? Lorenzo asked. That was exactly what we felt a moment ago. The blood moon, and these. It's the prophesied one, isn't it? It's the white wolf, she's alive. My purple gaze stared deeply at Lorenzo. He was one of my most trusted witches, but I didn't have the time to explain everything to him. Not now. We have to stop them before something bad happens, I told him. Get the witches to the Black Blood Pack. The only way to ensure Killian snapped out of the blood rage is to get rid of the blood moon. And for that, I have to find Sheila. I left Lorenzo, and with my magic, I teleport to a place I haven't been for a long while, the Black Blood Pack. It was very familiar, as I literally grew up walking down these hallways. I hurried my steps down the hallways. I turned left when another wave of energy swept through me. I stopped in my tracks as an immense amount of magic floated around the castle. I kept following the trail of the magic. The more I moved, the magic grew stronger. It led me to the top floor of the castle. I kept walking and soon, I stood in front of a tall door. Without hesitation, I pulled it open. I rushed in. Instantly, my eyes widened in shock. There were 5 figures dressed in black. They positioned themselves around a king-sized bed. And in the middle of this was Sheila. She was screaming in so much pain, thrashing on the bed. What were they doing to her? I rushed into the chamber. The magical energy within the room was stronger. I pulled my hands up in the air, about to use my magic on them when a strong hand gripped me tightly. I spun around, immediately, and my eyes widened more at a dark angry gaze that bored down at me. Leonardo Black's point of view, the prophesied one still lives. Amelie sounded, her eyes gleaming in disbelief, confusion, and shock. Her lips twitched into a smile, as murmurs broke out from the council members. I paid no attention to them. My deep blue eyes stared in confusion at the blood moon that was up in the sky. Something was wrong. This couldn't happen. The blood moon up in the sky only indicated that Sheila was in danger, and the magic within her forced itself out. She couldn't have done it herself. She didn't even have her childhood memories. She didn't know who she truly was, and from my findings, both her wolf side and her witch's powers were locked. I peeled my gaze from the red sky, mind-linking Kaiser, but I couldn't connect with him. Oh, goddess! I had a bad feeling about this. How can this be? We were sure she was dead. One of the council members spoke slowly, still finding it hard to believe that the white wolf was still alive. After Killian's father, Alpha Nell invaded our pack and took Sheila, my father, and me, along with our army. The Council army tried searching for her. We invaded the Crescent North pack in search of her, but we couldn't find her. The witches tried locating her using her magic, but they couldn't find her either. The location spell came out blank, indicating her magic didn't exist. I mind-linked Jensen and my pack's army. We had to leave. Something was wrong with Sheila. I had to get to her before the Dark Circle found out the identity of the White Wolf. Alpha Leonardo, Fendrick, a Fey King called my name, jolting me from my thoughts. I swerved my head to find him and some of the council members staring at me. Did you know? Did you know that the White Wolf was still alive? I clenched my jaw hard, curling my hand into a tight fist. I could feel the rage building within me. Truth be told, I didn't trust any of them one bit. They could all be working with the Dark Circle for all I know. I wasn't yet certain about my claim, but what I do know was someone informed the Dark Circle about the prophecy that was written on the crystal stones and the true identity of the White Wolf. Only the Council and the Crystal Fortress witches knew about the prophecy and who that child was. There was no way the Dark Circle could have found out about Sheila. She was so young then, she hadn't begun to access her powers, and my mother, Fiona, ensured her magic was never like a beacon that attracted magical creatures in our realm, both good and evil. That was how powerful the White Wolf was, half witch and half wolf. The prophecy had claimed she would be the strongest witch of her time and the most powerful wolf. Say something, Alpha. Fendrick sounded again, now irritating me. There was no way I was going to say anything, especially when it involved my sister. I couldn't protect her 14 years ago, but this time, I swear to the goddess it will be different. Excuse me, I said, pulling my gaze away from them. I left the council court. No doubt the Dark Circle must already know that the prophesied one was alive. Every creature with magic pumping in their veins could feel the magic of the blood moon. It was Sheila's magic. It's only a matter of time before the Dark Circle begins to search for her. This was exactly what I desperately wanted to avoid. It felt like history was repeating itself again. The Dark Circle will not stop until they find her. Only the goddess knows what they were up to with the Phoenix Stones. I groaned in rage and frustration, remembering the Phoenix Stones. Another reason why I strongly believe someone within the council was working with the Dark Circle. There was no way they could have known about the location of the Phoenix Stones in the council's possession. But then again, they knew about it and stole it. My rage was increasing with each passing second as I roved to where my horse was idly waiting for me. I got a whiff of Jensen's scent as he approached me in a hurry. His face was gravely serious. What is it? I furrowed my brows at him. I received another piece of information. He said, in a low tone. Is it about her? I asked, sharply. The only information I wanted to hear was anything that had to do with Sheila. Where was Kaiser and why can't I connect with him? I was burning intensely with rage. Jensen shook his head. It's not about her, but it's about Alpha Killian, I growled, indicating I didn't want to hear it. He was the last person I wanted to hear about. It's serious, Jensen's eyes were very serious. Tell me, I said, and his lips began to move. The Crescent North Alpha is cursed. I blinked, my gaze steadying on Jensen. What do you mean? I asked, pulling away from my horse. I have never heard such implausible words before. The news has gone around North Central. I don't know how valid it is yet, but it seems the whole pack is cursed as well. I listened to Jensen until he was done. I couldn't believe what I just heard. If that imbecile pack is truly cursed, then my sister. I couldn't complete my thoughts. Immediately, I ditched my horse. I morphed into my gargantuan grey wolf, with black spots on it, and raced into the woods with my warriors behind me. I was faster than any regular wolf, and Jensen was close behind me. After what seemed like hours, I finally crossed into my pack territory. I headed immediately for the castle. As soon as I reached there, I shifted back into my human form and the servants tossed me a garment. "Where is my brother?" I asked one of the servants in a loud voice. I still couldn't connect with him. "In his chamber," he replied. Hurriedly, I stepped into the castle and a strong wave of energy hit me hard. It was magic, the purest and most powerful kind. It was my sister's. I could never forget her essence and aura. It seemed to be coming from the top floor within the castle. Just then it dawned on me. My blue eyes burned with rage. "What have you done now, Kaiser? Everyone, out now!" My voice boomed through the mind link as I instructed everyone to leave the castle. I hurried up to the top floor, following her magical energy. It led me to a chamber we haven't been to for a longest time. It was Fiona's chamber. I grabbed the doorknob and pulled it open. Instantly, my eyes fell on the small and fragile figure that was lying motionlessly on the bed. It was her, my little sister. My legs moved like they had a mind of their own. I shut the door behind me. This was the first time I was so near to her. I had always stolen brief glances at her from afar. I moved to the bed, and my fingers fell on her soft blonde hair. I brushed it back gently, so I could see her beautiful face clearly. By the goddess, she was beautiful, even asleep. She looked exactly like Fiona Black, our mother. My fingers brushed her face, and then I froze. She was burning hot. It was then I noticed the blood that smeared her body and dress, but it wasn't hers. There were beads of sweat on her forehead. The rage in my eyes returned and I swerved my head to Kaiser. He was in the room as well, setting up a burning sage. It was a magical object that ensured no single noise left the corner walls of this room. Even though we weren't witches, and didn't practice witchcraft, Kaiser knew a lot about witch stuff. I glanced around, noticing the red candles that were positioned on the floor around the bed. My raging blue eyes returned to him again. "What in the goddess' name have you done, Kai?" His deep hazel gaze fell on me. "I have done nothing." "Nothing? You call this nothing?" I pointed a finger to the bed where Sheila was lying unconscious. "What were you thinking? She was in danger. That pack was under attack. And she was there, unprotected." Kai shot back, angrily. I understood exactly what he was saying, but bringing Sheila here was the worst mistake ever. Not only will Killian's pack be searching for her, but if someone found out she was here, it wouldn't take long for them to realize she's ours. "Why did you bring her here?" My rage was back. "Calm down, Leo. You don't understand. I couldn't just leave her there. She isn't well and anyone could have easily found out that she's something else, other than a wolf. Kaiser stalked closer to me. What do you mean? He was about to speak when we heard her gasp awake. Our eyes darted to the bed, and Sheila's eyes were glowing a blinding blue. Just then I realized what Kaiser meant. It was her awakening. The night was only getting worse. Leonardo Black's point of view. That's exactly why I brought her here, Kai spoke. A painful groan escaped her lips, as she arched her back against the bed. A series of groans left Sheila's lips again. A mighty force surrounded her, jerking her body from the bed into the air. Quickly, Kai and I rushed to her side. Before we could grip her and pull her down on the bed, she released another wave of magical energy that caused everything in the chamber to shatter at its impact. I almost lost my balance as well. Kai and I gripped her arms from both sides, pulling her back to the bed. We pinned her on the bed. Her magical essence lashed against us, wanting to be free. She didn't stop moving. She began to thrash about on the bed, groaning in pain. Her eyes were torching blue, and her temperature became worse. She let out a sharp scream that pierced into the air, sweeping through us. Kaiser and I groaned as well, but we never let go of her. What do we do, brother? Kaiser asked. She keeps getting worse. At Kaiser's words the red candle flames burning red turned into blue, and they began burning fiercely. Kai was right, she keeps getting worse. If we don't find a way to contain her magic, I won't be surprised if the dark circle tracks her magic and finds out her location. I peered outside, the blood moon was still up in the red sky. First of all, we need to get rid of it by making her stable. Jensen, get the witches here. I yelled through the mind link. My eyes fell back on my brother, whose gaze was fixed concernedly on Sheila. Kai, I pulled his thoughts to me. You did the right thing bringing her here, I told him. With the way things were going, it wouldn't take long for Killian and his pack to find out Sheila was the prophesied one, and also a black. The doors burst open, and 5 head witches from the coven in the pack rushed in with Jensen behind. Their eyes widened on Sheila on the bed, before glancing up at me. They lowered their heads to me. I snapped my gaze to Jensen. Make sure no one finds out what is going on, I said, and he nodded, shutting the door closed. Is she really? She is the prophesied one. One of the witches spoke, and I sent a quiet glance his way. Sincerely, I couldn't trust anyone with Sheila's secret. But these 5 witches, I could trust them to an extent. If my brother and I practiced magic, we wouldn't even be needing these witches. We would have helped Sheila by ourselves since the witch's blood flowing in her veins was as powerful as hers. I nodded. She is, gasps left their lips as they hurried closer. Before they could reach the bed, Sheila released another wave of magical energy, fiercer and powerful than the last. It sent some of the witches flying across the chamber. We were losing time. Her witch side is awakening. You need to find a way to contain it, I told them, as they balanced on their feet. The witches positioned themselves around the bed. We can't do this by ourselves. We need more witches. Her magic is too strong. One of them spoke. I shook my head instantly against the idea. If you bring any more witches here, then you will be responsible for their deaths. Because as soon as they are done, I am going to kill them, I said flatly. They all knew I meant every word of it. Use me instead. You can channel me, would it work? I asked, and after a brief second, they nodded. Kaiser and I left Sheila. As soon as our hands left her, she released another force and her body was up in the air, thrashing about. With every move she made, something within the chamber got destroyed. Kai stepped back, while I stood with the witches. They began to murmur some chants, and soon enough, the chamber was echoing with the witches' chants I recognized were in the Czech language. Soon, they touched me, and I felt a surge within me. They had begun to channel me. They didn't stop chanting, and Sheila didn't stop thrashing in the air, writhing with so much pain. Her eyes were still wide open, burning with blue flames. The witch's chants rose to maximum, while the blue candle flames around burned harsher. With so much chaos going on within the corner walls, it was a good thing Kai placed a burning sage to keep all the noise in. I felt my energy weakening, as the witches began to pull Sheila's magic closer to her as if forming an invisible bubble around her and having her within. A growl left her lips and screamed. At her scream, a powerful wave of energy left her body, pushing some of the witches against the wall. I grabbed the two witches that stood at my sides. They didn't break from their chanting, they kept going and the others were up, joining the chants. Slowly, Sheila's body was pinned back on the bed by an invisible force, but she kept thrashing through. The chaos within her that desperately wanted to be free, caused the earth beneath us to rupture, sending a crack on the floor, spreading to only the heavens knows where. The walls began to tremble, and it was as if they would close in on us any second now. It was a good thing we were in winter, otherwise, her magic would have caused the sky to cry so much as she controlled the four elements of magic. The earth, air, water, and fire all submit to her. Just at my thoughts, we heard a loud quake in the sky. Kai rushed quickly to the window, tugging apart the draperies. To my surprise, droplets of red water began to bang against the window. A trail of red water slid down the window. It was raining in winter. We must hurry, I told them. Her magic is too strong. We can't do this alone, one of the witches spit out lazily. I was about to ask Jensen for more witches, even though what awaited them after was their deaths. Without warning, the door pushed open unexpectedly. I tilted my head in its direction, and the face I never expected to see in my territory turned on me. Valerie. Her eyes narrowed on Sheila on the bed, and she gaded into the chamber quickly, pulling her hands up in the air, but Kai grabbed her arm, turning her to him. What are you doing here? He charged at her, eyes dark with his unstable emotions, asking the same question I was thinking. What is happening to her? She asked, her gaze finding Sheila's again. She knew. She knew who Sheila was. Did everyone at the Crescent North Pack know too? Did Killian know? Suddenly, tainted rage burned my body. I threw my blue gaze at her coldly. Leave, Valerie. She parted her lips to speak, when Sheila screamed again, her body forcing itself back into the air. She released another wave of energy that sent every one of us, including me, against the wall. She was getting worse. You need all the help you can get right now, don't be stubborn, Leo, she muttered as the witches fell back to their position. I crippled my brows at the name she addressed me with. Leo? It's Alpha Leonardo to her. I wanted to lash out, but clearly, this wasn't the time for that. I clenched my jaw, nodding to her. We needed all the help we could get. She joined us around the bed, and so did Kaiser as the witch also channeled his energy. We managed to push Sheila back on the bed, containing her magic within the invisible bubble. Even though she released another wave of energy, I couldn't escape the invincible bubble. Whatever the witches were doing was working. The witch's force pinned her on the bed, preventing her from thrashing around on the bed. But her eyes were still glowing blue and the chaos outside continued. With a few more minutes, the witch managed to contain her magic within her. Her burning blue gaze returned to normal, and she lost consciousness from exhaustion. The flaming candles also died instantly. One of the witches hastened to the window and the blood rain had stopped too. Our gaze went to the sky, it hadn't returned to its normal dark blue, and the blood moon remained. I sighed in relief, my blue eyes falling on the body of my little sister. I watched as Kaiser pulled the sheets over her. I turned to Valerie. We need to talk, yes, we do. But not now. You must know, the Crescent North Pack is already on their way. Valerie's words were cut off by the abrupt opening of the door, and my beautiful mate, Denise, rushed in. Her eyes were round with fear. I went to her. What is it? It's the Crescent North Pack, they are here. The Alpha is here with his army, he wants his mate back. Jensen completed from the doorway. My eyes turned dark before I could react, and a loud growl thundered within the room. We turned our heads to find a raging Kaiser. His gaze was dark and murderous. This night just keeps getting worse. Leonardo Black's point of view. Kaiser growled again. He was enraged and ready to kill. Denise rushed to the bed, draping a towel over Sheila's forehead, who was still unconscious. There's no way will that as SH0LE be getting her back. He yelled, mind-linking the pack's warriors. The pack is under attack. Fight to kill. It was an order. I crippled my brows, thinking. Kai rushed to me. She isn't going back to that stupid pack. He spoke firmly, anger seething through him. This was always what he wanted. This was what I wanted as well. But this wasn't the time to be thinking about what we wanted. We should be thinking about what would be best for Sheila and Kaiser. Read my thoughts. This is what is best for her. She will be safer here with her family. He sounded. Jensen stepped forward. They have crossed into our territory. They are scattered around the pack. What should we do? Fight and kill that as SH0LE, Kai muttered. That wasn't a bad idea, but it wasn't the best idea. I wanted Killian dead just as much as he did, but tonight wasn't the night for that. Please reconsider. This could start another war, and the only one that would be hurt by this is your sister. Valerie moved closer to me. Her words didn't surprise me. She has always been a traitor, to begin with, siding with that murdered one of her sisters and leader, Fiona, and also the Crystal Fortress witches. But the war was the last thing we needed right now. It would only draw unrequited attention to us. To Sheila. And soon the Dark Circle will find out exactly who she is. Does Killian know who she is? I asked and Valerie shook her head. I sighed, coming to a decision when one of the warriors rushed inside. Alpha Killian and his army are at the castle already. They've gone mad, they are attacking without mercy. His words infuriated me. I will be crazy if that he saw the coming of dawn. Kaiser raced out of the room. Go with him, I said to Jensen, turning to the witches. Keep everyone safe, and send some witches from the coven. We just might need their help. I rushed to the bed where my mate and sister were. Do not step out of the castle, and take care of her. I left them heading for the door when Valerie gripped my arm. Please do not do this, it won't end well. The Alpha and his army are not thinking straight. Do I look like I care? I raced out of the chamber, hurrying outside the castle. What? War had already begun. The Crescent North Army against my pack's army. The earth was already covered with the blood of both Killian's pack warriors and mine. If I ever wanted to turn back from the fight, it was too late now. The only thing I could do was fight to kill. I leapt in the air, giving my wolf full control. I shifted into my gargantuan grey wolf, and with my sharp canines extended, I pounced on one of the crescent wolves, moving as fast as I could. Valerie's point of view, they had gone mad. Every one of them. They had no idea what calamity was about to befall every one of us. I sent a glance to Luna, lying unconscious on the bed. They all had forgotten that the most important thing is ensuring she is safe. I inhaled deeply, leaving the chamber. I closed the door behind me. I could hear the deathly growls that pierced into the castle from outside. I reached the castle doors and the earth was already drenched with so much blood. It was like having to watch history repeat itself. All I could see were two powerful packs driven by rage and hate, and not caring about anything else. I couldn't stand for this. I had to stop this. Valerie, I turned around as Lorenzo and Gwen approached me. What do we do? We have to stop this madness. I glanced around and the witches from Leonardo's coven just joined the fight. I hastened closer to them. I knew the leaders, Yennefer and Finn. This is madness, and we all know this. We need to do something, otherwise both packs will end up killing each other. I tried convincing them, and thankfully they saw the situation the way I did. The witch scattered around the pack, trying to use our magic to stop this fight. Killian's point of view, Riker and I felt the rage pumping within us. Our emotions were on overdrive. All I wanted was to get to Sheila and kill them for taking what was mine. I tried not to think about anything else. I couldn't bear the mere thought of something bad happening to my sweet mate. I growled in rage, as my army and I reached the Black Blood Pack. We spread out, sneaking into their territory. Some warriors and I made it to their castle. It seemed they were expecting us. Many of their warriors were heavily armed in their human forms while some were in their wolf forms. As soon as we were at a near distance from the castle, my warriors began to attack and so did the warriors of the Black Blood Pack, but there was no sight of either Leonardo or Kaiser. My bloodshot red eyes narrowed in on some of the enemy wolves. Moving faster than a lightning bolt, I used my sharp canines to tear them apart. After a while, I began to make my way to the castle doors to search for Sheila, but a giant grey wolf emerged from the doors, growling with similar rage that stalked my veins. It was Leonardo's brother, Kaiser Black. I growled back, watching it leap in the air, hurrying toward me. I readied myself to rip it apart, but before it reached me, Morgan in his wolf form attacked him from the side, but Kaiser evaded him swiftly. Both Morgan and Kaiser landed on all four paws, snarling at each other. "Find Sheila. I will take care of him," Morgan growled through the mind link. He was burning intensely with similar rage. Before I could turn for the door, Leonardo gated outside, his dark blue eyes swept around in the darkness, narrowing on me. He shifted into his alpha wolf, and Riker and I smirked, charging at him. Our wolves began attacking each other. From Riker's peripheral vision, I saw Valerie and the witches rush into the fighting scene. To my surprise, they weren't fighting alongside us. Instead, they were using their magic to stop the attacks. The Coven witches from the Black Blood Pack also joined as well. Instead of fighting against us, they joined the witches in putting a stop to the fights. What was going on? My anger rose to the maximum as the blood moonlight shimmered on me. I growled, bringing my gaze back to Leonardo's wolf form as our wolves continued attacking each other. Riker and I were still fighting with Leonardo's spotted grey wolf when I got a whiff of my mate's scent. Momentarily, we got distracted, my eyes scanning around the fight, searching for her until it narrowed on her slender figure in front of the door. It was as if she could recognize my wolf. She began hastening to us. She was safe. Riker and I felt so elated she was able to get away from them, but she shouldn't be here. She could get hurt. She hurried closer to where Leonardo and I were fighting. "Stop! Please stop!" Her voice croaked, it was dry and sounded so weak. Her instant yell seemed to get Leonardo's attention as his wolf turned to her. He began hurrying toward her. Immediately Riker rushed in front of her, protecting her. I lunged at him and so did he. I could hear Sheila's cries behind me. It was distracting me like Riker and I badly wanted to run to her side and ensure she was all right. Sheila's cries filled the air again, calling out to me. Every time I heard her cries, I felt a painful tug in my chest. Riker felt torn between, wanting to be by her side and protecting her from Leonardo. Another of Sheila's cries sounded. I was not able to block Leonardo's wolf attack, his teeth digging into my wolf. And that's when it happened. Another of Sheila's cries echoed within the air, stronger than before, traveling through my heart. "Sheila!" Her scream forced everyone to freeze. My wolf staggered back in shock, as Sheila shifted before our eyes into the most beautiful wolf I had ever laid my eyes on. It was as if the world had stopped moving, as I stared at Sheila's wolf. It was a breathtaking snow-white wolf with glossy furs. By the goddess, she was beautiful. Sheila's point of view, I was weak. Very weak. My eyes were stinging from the exhaustion that washed over me. I could feel my entire body on fire, while every bone in my body ached with pain. The pit of my stomach also burned with similar pain. I groaned, praying to the moon goddess that this pain goes away. I groaned again, moving, hoping to find some comfort, but I couldn't find any. Killian. More than ever, I craved his touch, his soothing warmth. Suddenly, I realized where I was at. In complete darkness. I was covered with darkness. Was I asleep? Oh no! I had to wake up. I began to fight internally, struggling to pull my eyes open. My lashes felt too heavy, and my eyelids refused to be lifted. With much difficulty, I fluttered my eyes open. I groaned as the light around me was too bright for me. I shut my eyes, adjusting my vision. I pulled it open and my gaze fell on the blank air. I wanted to move, but I couldn't. I wanted to speak, and still, I couldn't. What happened to me? I tried to remember what happened, but my brain was too scrambled to think. Then I felt a cold feeling around my head. I pulled my gaze to my right, and my eyes fell on a woman. She was young and beautiful. Her focus was on the small towel she had dipped into a bowl. Who was she? And where was I? I wanted to ask, but again, I couldn't. I groaned once more, earning the young woman's attention. Her beautiful eyes rounded on me with shock and elation. Thank the goddess, you are awake, she shifted closer to me. I made another attempt to move but she pinned me down to the bed. Don't force yourself to move. You still need plenty of rest, she said sweetly, pulling a cup from the table. She brought it to my lips. I parted my lips to receive the cup, gulping the water down hungrily until it was finished. Please, go back to sleep, she muttered again. I glanced around the chamber, recognizing it wasn't mine, nor Killian's. It didn't even look like any chamber at Killian's castle. Where was I? My eyes fell back on the woman as panic and fear began to settle in. Who are you and where am I? Thankfully, I was able to find my voice. She looked at me quietly, unsure whether or not to speak. I swear we do not mean any harm, she spoke cautiously. Somehow, I could feel her sincerity. My name is Denise, and you are in my mate's territory, she whispered. Before I could ask another question, she sounded again. The Black Blood Pack, and I froze. The Black Blood Pack? As in, the Black's territory? How did I get here? My eyes widened the more. Was I kidnapped? No. You weren't kidnapped, Denise rushed. Still, somehow I believed her words. I can't explain this, I promise, Leonardo will. I pulled myself to sit upright on the bed, and she helped me. Oh, goddess, I regretted my action instantly. My head began to throb unbearably. Suddenly, the sounds of everything in the room began to blast into my ears. I could hear the loud pounding of her heartbeat, the slothful dripping of the water on the table to the floor, and growls. Plenty of them, all coming out from outside the chamber. Immediately, a thought popped into my head. If I was here, then Killian would be looking for me here. My eyes snapped back to Denise. I have to leave, I moved on the bed, sucking the groan wanting to escape my lips. You can't. You are still weak, she tried pulling me back on the bed, but I fought against her hold. Please, do not stop me, I have to get to my mate, I said, racing to the door, not minding my weak legs that kept on protesting against my movements. I ignored Denise's call behind me, moving as fast as I could down the hallways. I turned and continued walking almost as if I knew just where to go. There was something about the hallways that seemed very familiar, but as I tried to think deeper, my head banged harder and my stomach burned angrily. Soon, I was downstairs. I hurried to the castle doors, instantly stopping in my tracks. My eyes widened in both fear and horror. There was a war going on. The more I looked closely, I recognized some wolves from Killian's pack. They were fighting against wolves from the Black Blood pack. My eyes fell on the blood on the earth, and I felt my heart tug in pain. Somewhere in my chest, a deep pain birthed to life seeing these packs fighting against each other. I just wanted it to stop. My eyes scanned around, and they fell on a familiar pitch-black wolf. Killian. It was as if he felt my presence because his eyes darted my way. I began to race toward where his wolf was fighting against a spotted grey wolf. As I reached them, the grey wolf turned to me, his eyes dark blue. He moved to my side, but Killian's large wolf blocked him before he could reach me and they continued fighting. Please, stop please. My voice croaked, but they all continued. The pain in my chest began to grow, spreading through my bones. I could hear Adi howl in so much pain. Soon, similar pain found my bones, and I collapsed on the ground groaning. It was as though my bones were snapping within my body, and taking another form. I could feel a change within me, and before I could register anything, Adi growled in control and my legs gave up. And I shifted. I felt light, standing on 4 paws, instead of my legs. The fight still continued, and an angry growl left Adi's throat, silencing the fight around and gaining everyone's attention. My wolf and I jumped in between Killian and the spotted grey wolf, and I growled, demanding an end to this madness. Killian's point of view, I was completely frozen in my spot. Everyone was as shocked as I was. Sheila's wolf was beautiful. I continued to stare at her wolf's beauty in awe, taking in as much as I could. And then, right before my eyes, the white wolf leaped in the air and crashed in between Leonardo's wolf and me. She growled aggressively, letting out a loud howl that shook the trees around us. There were subtle growls erupting from the wolves around, but Sheila's wolf silenced them all with another powerful growl. I almost flinched at the authority that escaped with her growl. She growled once more at everyone, warningly, letting them know she wouldn't stand down if they proceeded to attack. When no one proceeded to move, she slowly turned to me, watching me with care, yet curious eyes. Her stance was confident under the blood moon, and her breathing hard as her penetrating gaze drew me completely in. She stood like that for a while, never taking her eyes off my wolf, and then, right before my eyes, she collapsed on the ground, completely still as it shifted back to her human form to reveal. I growled, as my eyes went around to the wolves who were still in their wolf form. I watched Kaiser lunge forward to where Sheila was in his wolf form. A possessive and threatening growl erupted from my wolf as he rushed over to Sheila, using his body to cover hers. Kaiser Wolf was forced to stop beside Leonardo's as his deep piercing eyes still held rage. I didn't leave Sheila's side until Gwen hurried to Sheila's side with a blanket to cover her body. I shifted to my human form, covering me with my shorts. I quickly made my way to Sheila's side. I didn't want to be away from her for a second while she was unconscious. I fell on my knees, pulling her into my arms. I heard Kaiser growl beside Leonardo, and I growled as well, warningly, holding Sheila securely in my arms. It was then I noticed the dark blue sky and realized the blood moon had faded away. My eyes were forced away from the sky to Kaiser, who wanted to pounce forward, but Leonardo held him back. They both shifted to their human forms. I sent a deadly gaze at them. My patience was already on the borderline and is ready to kill anything or anyone that tried separating me from Sheila. Back off, we could do this all night and we wouldn't get tired. I have what I came here for, and though I want to rip you to shred, my mate needs me, I spoke. Tell your warriors to get out of our way, otherwise the fight will continue. I watched Valerie move closer to us. Call your men off, please, she said. Leonardo's gaze drifted from Valerie and landed back on Sheila in my arms. You can leave, Killian, but by the goddess, this isn't over, he counted each word, and I couldn't deny it. I felt a coldness rush down my spine at his words. It was now clear to me, they would do anything to get to Sheila. They would harm her just to make me suffer. I would kill them first before that happened. Killian's point of view, this hate between Leonardo's pack and I could never stop, not until one of us killed the other. I narrowed my eyes at him. I swear by the goddess, Leonardo, for what you've done today, I will make you know what pain truly means by taking away that which matters the most to you. I enunciated my last words, meaning everyone. No matter what it was, or whose life I had to take, I would ensure they suffer for what they did to Sheila tonight. I turned to my side to find Morgan beside me in his wolf form. Slowly, my warriors began to retreat into the woods. We were on high alert as we made our way out of the Black Blood Pack territory. I wouldn't be surprised if they sent more after us. It was only after we had exited their territory, I sighed in relief, cradling Sheila closer to my chest. I moved with haste, racing through the woods until I reached my territory with the warriors. Immediately, I navigated my way through the destruction that happened in the pack. I mind-linked the pack's healer, as I rushed Sheila into my chamber. Carefully, I placed her on the bed, adjusting the blanket on her body to cover her bare skin. Sheila, Betrayal rushed in with RIA. Behind them was Valerie, and the pack's healer, Maggie. Alpha, please, excuse us, Maggie sounded, as she went closer to the bed. And why? I was seething with rage. I didn't want to leave my mate. We need to tend to her properly, and have some clothes on her. I was about to protest, but Valerie urged me to do as she said, for Sheila's sake. I was outside when Valerie and Pack's healer came out from my chamber along with Betrayal and RIA. Is she awake? I asked them, and they shook their heads. She is very weak, and because she forced herself to shift into her wolf, she shifted for the first time without the guidance of an elderly, because it was her first shift and immediately, crashed into a fight, straining her body and mind, Maggie voiced. But she will be fine once she rests up. As soon as everyone left, I went back to my chamber, and in the middle of the bed was my mate, Sheila, lying so helpless and fragile. I felt my heart contort in pain. Her face was void of colors, and so were her lips. She was wearing one of her sleeveless dresses. Even in her unconscious state, Sheila still looked beautiful. Goddess, this was all my fault. It was my fault she went through everything she did tonight. The Fire Crest attacked, and then she was held hostage by the Black Blood Pack. I collapsed on the bed next to her. I couldn't hold back the tears that pushed out from my eyes. My hand went up to her face, to pull back the strand of hair that covered her face. Her body was hot, and as my hand fell on her cheek, she released some air from her lips. I moved closer, placing a kiss on her forehead. I cradled her into my arms, pulling the covers over her body. I was with Sheila for some time, then I heard a knock on the door. After I spoke, the door pushed open and Valerie stepped in. "How is she?" she asked, moving closer. "Still the same, her temperature is high," I whispered, moving up to find Valerie's eyes on her. It then drifted on me. She looked like she had a lot to say. "What is it?" I could feel a churn in my chest. Whatever it was, I didn't want to leave Sheila. "No. We can talk later," she sighed. "I'm afraid not, because this is about everything that happened tonight. It's about the curse, and it's really bad." My face turned pale. The crescent moon was 3 weeks away. This wasn't the time for anything to be bad. If we couldn't break the curse on the crescent moon night, my pack and I will remain stuck forever. This can't be. "Let's go to my office." I kissed Sheila, leaving my chamber with Valerie. I called some of the pack members, and they all gathered in my office. Morgan stepped in a second late, his eyes literally holding bad news. "Brother," before I could finish my words he sounded quiet. "The whole of North Central and beyond is aware of the Crescent Curse. Everyone knows of it." His words caused a loud gasp, followed by several murmurs. "How is this possible?" I rubbed my face with my palm. This was exactly what I fought to avoid for years. This was bad. Really bad. That is why those leeches from the Fire Crest pack attacked us. They knew. Mason spoke up, and Morgan nodded. "How could that be?" Xavier voiced, and I sighed, realizing the bitter truth. "It has to be someone within us. We have a traitor in our midst," I yelled, fury and frustration eating through me. "Who could have ratted us out?" Alan asked. "Someone who has nothing to lose," I muttered in rage. Everyone in the pack protected that secret with their life, knowing if something bad happened to me, and I died, everyone would suffer the same fate. It can only be someone who doesn't have anything to lose. Could it be that witch? The one that killed Rowan? I grabbed a handful of my hair, standing up from my chair. "This is bad," I muttered under my breath, but everyone could hear me. "Unfortunately, I have worse news for you all," Valerie's voice sounded. The murmurs in the office died, and everyone's gaze fell on her. "I am afraid, Thea Chrysler is not the gifted one we have been searching for." Valerie's words rang loudly in my ears, echoing over and over again in the corner wall of my mind. My eyes were unmoving from her as she watched me cautiously. The air within the office could attest to the deadly silence that lingered for what seemed like forever. "What are you saying?" Morgan gated closer to where Valerie was seated. His eyes reflected the confusion of everyone in the room. "What do you mean by Thea isn't the gifted one?" I asked. Valerie shuffled on her seat, her deep purple eyes still on me. "I have had my suspicions for a long time, but I wasn't certain of it, that's why I didn't say anything. And what happened this night confirmed it all. We've had the wrong one all this time." She was up on her feet, stalking the floors. "Remember the cleansing ritual the witches and I did a week ago on the pack to block out the side effects of the Crescent Curse with the crescent moon almost upon us?" Valerie asked, and everyone nodded, wanting to hear everything she had to say. I trusted Valerie with my life, but a part of me fully didn't believe Thea wasn't the gifted one. It was impossible, I mean she was the one in my dreams. Listen, human. Riker sounded in my head, jolting me back from my thoughts. That ritual was performed with the blood of the Gifted One. It was her blood that was supposed to cleanse the pack and block the side effect of the curse, but it didn't work, because tonight everyone was under the effect of the curse. Valerie paused halfway, glancing at everyone before her gaze met mine. The rage, I muttered. And Valerie nodded. I knew something was wrong. Riker and I felt the enormous rage coursing through our veins. But I had no control over it. Yes, the blood rage. Every member of the pack was channeling your rage, Killian. And that wouldn't have happened if the ritual had worked. I leaned on the table, collapsing on the chair. But, she was the one I saw in my dreams. How do you explain that? Something must have gone wrong. Or someone wanted to lead you astray. Whatever the case may be, the crescent moon is 3 weeks away and we are not certain of who the Gifted One is, Valerie said. Everyone began to murmur while I sank into my own thoughts. Everything was getting worse. Everything. I felt my breathing become hard. If everything Valerie said was true, then it meant, Thea has never been the Gifted One, and she had suffered all for nothing. What do we do now, Valerie? My voice sounded broken and drained. The crescent moon rising is in 3 weeks, how on earth do we find the Gifted One? Valerie's gaze on me was hard, and serious. She had something to say but was unsure if now was the right time. I have a suspicion, but I would rather like to tell you all after I am certain. I cut her off. Please, let us know everything now, she drew in a sharp breath. It's only a suspicion, but I think the Luna is the Gifted One we've been searching for. What? Morgan's words echoed within the office, and I felt a squeeze in my chest. Killian's point of view. What? Sheila. The Gifted One? What are you saying, Valerie? I muttered, leaning on the table that stood between me and her. How can my mate be the Gifted One? I know how that sounds, but it's not entirely impossible, Valerie said, turning to everyone. We all can agree that tonight we've seen things that are impossible happen. Yeah, starting with what happened to me, RIA, and the warriors, Alan said, and my gaze darted to Valerie. Before I could ask the questions in my chest, Morgan beat me to it. Was Sheila responsible for that? Everyone's curious gaze darted to Valerie, who was silent for brief seconds. No, she said quietly, Luna has nothing to do with that, she added. Why do you think I began? But she sliced through my words. The blood rage, it was her presence that broke you out of the blood moon's effect, Valerie muttered. I know exactly how it sounds, that's why as soon as she regains consciousness, I'll find out if she's truly the Gifted One. I didn't know exactly how I felt about Valerie's words. If Sheila was the Gifted One, then that was a good thing for the pack and me, but at the same time, I was relieved to know she wouldn't be a part of my problem. What if something went wrong with the curse? Sheila would also be affected. I didn't like that. If Sheila wasn't behind Alan and Ria's revival, and the blood moon that appeared in the sky, then tell me, what's responsible? I asked, curious as well. Everyone seems to think the White Wolf was responsible for what happened that night. I was dying to know the truth. Was the Black's daughter still alive? All these years, I actually believed she was dead. That night just right before the Black Blood Pack attacked, I overheard my father talking with someone from the dark circle. He had no idea where she was. And that confused me. Alpha Nell was the one who attacked the Black Blood Pack and killed Luna, stealing their daughter, and he had no idea where she was. It was implausible to believe at that time. If really the Dark Circle had no knowledge of her whereabouts that night, then where was she all this time? It's the White Wolf, Valerie muttered, her eyes watching mine intensely. It's the prophesied one spoken about in the crystal stones. Their sister. Morgan sounded, while everyone was awfully quiet in the room. But she's dead, I sounded. That's what everyone thought until tonight. That blood moon was her doing, which simply means, she's alive somewhere. Valerie was so calm, her deep purple eyes never leaving mine. Could they know her whereabouts? I asked, suddenly feeling rage stalking my veins. Could they have known where she was all these years? I wouldn't be surprised if they hid it from everyone. That child was the reason why we lost our brother that night. If those Black Blood Pack didn't attack us mercilessly, Carl would still be here with us. Riker growled in my head, demanding I calmed down. I had no idea why I felt this way at all. But I did. I breathed in calmly. Whether the White Wolf was still alive or not, that doesn't concern us. The whole world knows about our curse, and every imbecile with a grudge out there against us will be coming before the crescent moon rises. We have to be prepared, I said to my warriors, turning to Valerie. And about the gifted one I have my way of finding out, she said, and I smiled nodding. The only thing I wanted more than ever was to be next to my mate. She was the most important thing right now. Thea's point of view, I gripped onto the thin fabric of my dress, squeezing it the more as I listened to these imbeciles. I felt my legs go weak, but I held on to the wall, listening the more. Valerie, she found me out. She knows I am not the supposed gifted one. She knows I am a fake. Everyone does now. As the meeting was coming to an end, I retraced my steps back to my chamber, shutting the door behind me. This was bad. Everything that I had worked for years was slowly crumbling right before my eyes. This wasn't how things were supposed to happen tonight. My entire plan has gone for the worst. She was supposed to be dead. Killian was supposed to hurry back and find her remains scattered within the pack. But that didn't happen. Even worse, I got myself exposed and now everyone is thinking that she is the gifted one. Just how on earth could that be? If the old witch's words were in fact true, and Sheila is the gifted one, then the curse will be broken and I will not be able to get my revenge. That can't be. I began to pace back and forth in my chamber. If that she is the gifted one, then it will only be a matter of time before Killian sends me out of his pack. The thought alone caused me to scream angrily. The bright torches around rose at my anger. I can't let Killian send me out of here. It took me so much to infiltrate his dreams and plant myself there so he would think that I was the one destined to save him and his stupid pack. I had to think. I had to find my way out of this. Just then, I heard the subtle sounds that came from the window. I hurried there, and outside the window was the black owl. It had a message for me. I opened the window quickly, allowing the bird in. The alpha must have found out what happened. He always had eyes everywhere. I gripped the folded piece of paper, unfolding it. My eyes stared at the words written in blood. I had warned you not to touch a single hair on her, but still, you didn't listen. My brows were crippled. How did he know I was behind the Fire Crest pack? Now everyone knows about her. I read again, his words confusing me. What was he talking about? And how did he know Sheila was the gifted one? Or was there something else I wasn't aware of? Don't do anything to harm her, witch, I am warning you. I rolled my eyes. The only thing I wanted at the moment was to kill that tramp. My every attempt to get rid of her had always backfired. Fix the mess you made, otherwise you won't be able to get what you want, and neither would I. Finally, he understood it. If things keep going like this, neither the Alpha nor I will be able to get what we want. I folded the paper, lighting it up in flames with my magic. I began to think about how to fix this mess, and everything I thought had led to the undeniable fact that Sheila was a problem and she had to disappear from the picture to ensure my success. But the Alpha insisted I do not harm her. Regardless of the relationship they shared, he should realize that his ambition was far greater than any faux bond. He had his own goal, and so did I. And to get my revenge on Killian, I am ready to cross all boundaries to hit him where it hurts the most. He ruined my life, and I will do just that, starting with his pathetic mate, and then his stupid pack, and finally, I will end him. I smiled devilishly to myself for a second, before frowning. My entire plan would still have been successful if the Black Blood Pack were quick to murder her. If only they killed her immediately, she wouldn't have been rescued. Suddenly, a thought popped into my head and I stopped pacing. A smile found my lips. Brilliant. That was brilliant. Even with the fact that the whole world knew about the curse on the Crescent North Pack, not all packs could take on Killian's pack. He was the largest and most widely feared in the whole of North Central. There was only one pack that had as much hatred as I did for Killian and would do absolutely anything to make him suffer. They also had one of the largest pack in the whole of North Central and wouldn't hesitate to harm Killian's mate. My smile only deepened. They were the Black Blood Pack. I am sure, Alpha Leonardo and Alpha Kaiser Black would be elated to finish off them once and for all. And I knew they wouldn't fail. I turned to my dressing table, pulling out some ingredients. I had a message to send to them. One they'll love. Leonardo Black's point of view that was stupid, Leonardo. Kaiser huffed. We had her right here in her own home after 14 long years, and we allowed her to leave, just like that, with them. He could not just stop pacing. They even have a curse on their heads. What if she's also affected by being in that pack? He yelled, still upset. I remained silent, devouring my dinner in the private dining room next to my chamber. He has been this way since Killian left with Sheila in his arms. He didn't like that. He wanted us to have fought to keep her here with us. And if we did, what would have happened after that? The whole world will get to know Sheila was our sister, the white wolf written about on the crystal stones. Soon, it won't be long before the Dark Circle sends their henchmen after her, and thereafter, creatures the world had never seen or heard of will come after her because of her powerful magic. Even though I felt enraged as well, letting my sister go away with them, the truth was, that was the best way to keep her safe and off the radar for now. Kai, please calm down, my mate, Denise spoke to him in an attempt to quell his rage, but that was of no use. You don't understand, Den. What if Killian finds out she's a black? Kaiser was greatly vexed and frustrated. And I understood where his rage was coming from. He had always had this rage from that night when he witnessed it all. The night Mother died saving Sheila, and still, she was stolen. The Alpha and I had gone for a meeting that day, and we still hadn't returned that night. It was only Mother, Kaiser, and Sheila that was in the pack, along with the witches and pack warriors. Kaiser witnessed it all, the death of our mother, and right before his eyes, Sheila was taken. He has always blamed himself for that night, and now, finding Sheila after all these years, he was obsessed with keeping her safe. And I understood that and would never blame him for that. I picked up the silver cup on the table and took a sip from it. Kai, I called to him. I know exactly how you feel, but now is not the time to be furious. How can I not? Sheila doesn't remember anything. After this night, she will start having questions about herself. What if out of desperation, she confronts Lucius? We still have no idea how she ended up in the hands of him. But one thing for sure is that he knows exactly who she is, that's why he had her powers bonded, and he could possibly be responsible for her losing her memories. He slammed his hands on the table. Calm down, Kai, I yelled, trying to calm him down, but everything he said had a valid point. We still had no idea how Sheila ended up with Alpha Lucius after she was taken by Killian's father. And since then, she has been locked up in his pack, living as his daughter. You have a point, Kai, but you need to remain calm, I said. Now take a seat, I added, finishing my dinner. Kaiser sighed, taking a seat right opposite Denise. What do we do now, brother? He asked, running a hand through his hair. We do nothing. Right now, Sheila is better off far away from us. Everyone, including the Dark Circle, will be searching for her, and they will keep an eye on us to find out if we know her whereabouts, I said, about to say more when the silver plate in front of me began to shake. Kaiser was up instantly, but I remained in my seat, watching the silver plate closely as red water began to appear on it. It was blood. Someone was trying to send a message to me. A witch. My mate, Denise, was beside me. Our eyes were glued on the blood that kept on gathering on the plate. And soon, the plate stopped moving. I didn't break my gaze from the silver plate, as the blood on it began to spread out, forming words. In short seconds, the blood formed some words. My blue eyes read it, and I felt a churn within me. You hate the cursed Alpha, and I do too. The only way to make him suffer is to kill his mate. She is the key to breaking his curse. Her death will be what we need to make him suffer. I read the words over and over again, hearing the growls of my wolf in the walls of my mind. Kaiser released a loud growl, his eyes were gleaming bright. Now, who is this imbecile? Whoever this person is, they obviously have a grudge against Alpha Killian, Denise spoke, returning to her seat. And they plan to use my sister to make him suffer. Kaiser released another growl. My eyes were still stuck on the words on the silver plate. Sheila is the key to breaking the Alpha's curse. I muttered, more like whispering to myself, but Kaiser and Denise could hear me. Kaiser stopped growling. How is that possible? What is going on in that pack? Whosoever sent this really wanted to harm Killian, and frankly, I don't have a problem with that. But I didn't like the fact that they were pulling my sister into this mess. I sighed, turning to Kaiser. Take this to the pack's witches, maybe they can get something from it, I pointed at the plate. Afterwards, we will send it to Valerie. Being inside Killian's pack, she'll be able to keep Sheila safe. Whoever the witch was that sent this must be in Killian's pack, Denise said. I nodded. That's why we need Valerie, we have to send word to her immediately, I said. That won't be a problem, Kaiser said, leaning on the table. I turned my head to him, meaning. He tilted his head to the door. She's right here. I glanced at the door, and Valerie was standing right there, having a brown cloak over her. She dragged down the hood covering her hair. We really need to talk. I breathed out, leaning into my chair. I guess we do, Valerie gated forward. I am curious, how long have you known about Sheila? Kaiser asked her. I had my suspicions the first day I met her, and after that, there have been some peculiar situations that convinced me the most, she said. How is she? I asked the question everyone was curious to know. She's still unconscious, and still has a fever. She paused. I don't think her awakening is over yet, as I can't seem to stop her fever. That's bad, Kaiser growled. Did you tell him who she truly is? Valerie threw Kai an angry look. Her deep purple eyes dwelt on him for a while before looking away. As much as I hate keeping things from the Alpha, my first loyalty doesn't lie with either him or the Blacks. It lies with the White Wolf. It is the duty of the witches of the Crystal Fortress to protect her, and that's what I will do. Somehow, her words satisfied me. The witch's first loyalty should lie with Sheila. I pushed the silver plate to her side. Valerie's eyes fell on me before they landed on the words formed on the silver plate. What is this? She spoke as soon as she finished reading it. It was sent a few minutes ago. Kaiser settled into one of the seats. Her purple eyes fell on all three of us. A witch sent that to us, and they are after Sheila. Do you know anything about this? I asked her. She shook her head. No. But for some time now, an unknown witch has been after the pack. The witches and I have been trying to find out who that is. They have been trying to harm Killian, by using his mate, Sheila. But recently, I think she may have been a target. I don't care about Killian, I care about Sheila, I said, in fury. We must find that witch before something bad happens, and please, Valerie, you must protect her. With my life, I will. She sounded. My witches will take a look at that, and they'll forward it to you, I said to her, and she nodded. Everyone knows that the White Wolf still lives. Every dark creature will be searching for her now, including the Council, Valerie said. And the Dark Circle, Kaiser added. I know. Everyone will have their eyes on the pack, I said. It wouldn't be long before the truth gets out, she said. I hated to think about what would happen then. Whatever the case may be, would ensure what happened 14-odd years ago, would never repeat itself. The Dark Circle will have no choice but to lose this time.